The following is a sponsored program paid for by Dr. Elijah Nicholas, LLC.
Welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Elijah Nicholas, and this is Focal Point, an earnest, no-nonsense talk show that cuts through the noise to focus on what truly matters. Each week, we'll speak with a new guest, everyone from community leaders to celebrities to everyday heroes, as we share the stories you won't see in the headlines through thought-provoking one-on-one discussions right here. In today's episode, we'll be speaking with two people who know what it's like to put their lives on the line for their country. Montel Williams and Trey-Shawn Perez, both former veterans with two diverse experiences. So many of us know Montel Williams for his accomplished career as a groundbreaking television host, where he brought compelling stories right into the living rooms of millions for nearly 2 decades. But before he graced our screens at home, he served on the home front as a Marine and highly decorated naval officer with 22 years of service. Today, he's taken all of that experience and turned it into a mission to uplift, support, and honor the heroes of today. Montel, welcome to Focal Point. It is truly an honor to have you here with us.
Thanks so much for having me, sir.
Let's start with your new book, The Sailing of the Intrepid, which you co-authored. It's a powerful testament to the resilience and sacrifice of the brave men and women aboard the USS Intrepid during its 3,300-mile voyage to Pearl Harbor. What was it about this mission and this moment in history that compelled you to tell this story?
Well, this is a story that truly shows, the backbone of America in a way. The ship had just been commissioned, just went into battle in World War II, actually completed 2 successful missions, one of them in the Marshall Islands against, I think, Kwajalein, and the other one against the island of Truk. And those 2 missions, the ship literally achieved almost a record-setting amount of tonnage of losses that it brought on to the Japanese Army, Japanese military and Navy, and was in leaving the island or leaving the harbor of Truk. Unfortunately, it got followed out by a single Japanese bomber that followed its wake and found it and skimmed in across the deck, probably 40, 50 feet above. And back in those days, we had very rudimentary radars, so the radars didn't detect it until the last second. And when detected, it was able to drop a torpedo that literally hit the rudder of the Intrepid, causing a breach in the hull from the waterline all the way up to the deck, pinning the rudder at a 45-degree angle to port, forcing this 3 football field size ship, one of the most advanced technological ships of its day, to careen out of control in the middle of a battle group. It almost hit the USS Essex, a sister ship of its own. Had it done so, that would have been probably one of the biggest and greatest maritime disasters of all time. The ship was careening out of control. The captain, was a really, really, really ingenious gentleman, his name was Captain Sprague, did everything he could do to control the trajectory or control the direction of the ship by using the engines going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what they didn't want to do was to allow the Japanese to sink it, because it would have been, one of those feathers on the wall. They would have stuck up there, claiming we sunk the greatest ship ever built by the United States Navy. So instead, the captain brought together members of the crew, his executive officer, the damage control officer, and they sat down and they thought about, how can we get this thing to go straight? And they figured out, if we were to take the most technologically advanced ship and use the most rudimentary, fundamental technology of sailing, which is a sail, if we put a sail on the front of the ship, on the forecastle, it'll not give us propulsion, but it would give us an ability to counterbalance the waves, the currents, and the wind, and allow us to go straight, or relatively straight. And they did so, and they sailed this thing back from Northern Pacific, 3,200 miles back to Pearl Harbor, where it was then fixed with a temporary rudder, sailed it up to San Francisco, where it went into dry dock, almost hitting the Golden Gate Bridge because it lost
Wow.
control again. But this captain was able to battle the engines and get it to go straight, got it into dry dock, was refit, went back into battle, and then became one of the first ships to be hit by a kamikaze during the war. And not only hit by one, but hit by two. Went back into dry dock, came back into battle. 3 weeks later, got hit again by three more kamikazes. Went back into dry dock, went back into battle, and helped us successfully complete our campaign against the Japanese during World War II. Went on to serve in Korea and Vietnam, and then went on to become the recovery ship for NASA, scooping capsules out of the ocean. Did so, had an illustrious career, was almost literally turned into scrap metal, but had it not been for Zachary Fisher, who recognized the value of the ship and the value of its story, purchased it himself, then went in to talk to Mayor Koch in New York City, agreed to put this ship along the West Side Highway in Manhattan, and now it stands there today as the Air, Space, and Sea Museum that it is today, visited by well over 1.5 million people every single year. So, those who drive by it and don't know its history need to understand that this is literally like the unsinkable Molly Brown, one of the things that shows the backbone of the United States military and the backbone of the United States people and the resilience of the United States people.
In addition to your advocacy through storytelling, your show, Military Makeover with Montel, airing on Lifetime, has transformed the lives of so many veterans and their families. And not just a few families. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of families. What is it about these military makeovers that keeps pushing you to put that work in?
The show Military Makeover that does air on Lifetime is a testament to the resilience of our warfighters. I mean, these young men and women from 10, 15 years ago, still some of these guys are suffering some ridiculous injuries from their battles in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they still tried their best to persevere and respect the fact that they were able to do so for this country, and they served, and they some cases left body parts behind. And what we do is, once a veteran family is nominated, we select a veteran family, and then we go in with Military Makeover, and we basically do a home renovation for them from the ground up. And I'm talking about not, slapping a little paint on it. We do everything from, the yard to replace their roofs. This last family is we just did, the Reeves family, which will air in August, starting August 22nd. They got a makeover that was literally top to bottom, everything from their, retaining walls out in their gardens to forming a garden to giving them fencing all around their backyard to giving them a brand new deck and a place that they could sit. This family got, a sauna in their house. They got floors redone. They had a brand new kitchen. They got a brand new roof.
Wow.
They got new furniture throughout, and the community comes together to do that. So what we do is and we try to do this in 10 days. But we get vendors in the community who volunteer, who donate their services and donate their products to us. So this family, I got to tell you, King, North Carolina, really showed up and showed out. I mean, we had vendors just coming in, pouring things out for us, saying, please, please, please take this.
I'll talk about community. That's an amazing story and amazing work that you're doing. And, as a veteran, it's really near and dear to my heart, all the work that you're doing. And I think that, what I have always been impressed with is, people are maybe very familiar with you being a household name and amazing talk show host, but a lot of people don't know the sacrifice that you made serving in the military. And so one of the things that I admire about you is how you say you've never taken the uniform off. And I feel the same way as a servant leader. And so what advice do you have for, say, a young person that's considering taking the course or the path of service? What advice do you have in today's world?
To do something far greater than yourself and do something for other people is the greatest service you could provide to your nation, your country. So for a young person out there right now who's trying to consider whether or not they think that the military is a place for them, I would say absolutely. If you feel like you've got the intestinal fortitude to want to actually go out and do something for something bigger than you, then most definitely this is an opportunity for you to to leave a legacy behind that, you don't necessarily want everybody to have to read, but a legacy behind that has made impact. Right now, I know times have been tough for our recruiting efforts in the military. What we have to understand is that the military is stronger and longer lasting than any individual or any individuals that are in there. So, for those who think, oh, I don't want to serve with this person, serve this way, serve that way, believe they're only there for another 4 or 5 years, and your service goes on farther than that. And your impact of your service will go on farther than that. So go ahead and reach out, put that uniform on your back, and wear it with pride.
Wear it with pride. I love that. I actually wore with pride, wore the uniform with pride for almost 25 years. I was 17 years when I joined. And one of my tours overseas, was during Desert Storm. And so I had the opportunity to experience patients who were experiencing long-term care, and their families came over. So I had the opportunity to interact with the Fisher House. And I understand that you play a big role with the Fisher House. And the Fisher House, for those who don't know, provides a home away from home for families of military patients receiving care at VA and military hospitals.
They're kind of like the Ronald McDonald House for the VA hospital. And it's very interesting. In writing the book, Sailing of the Intrepid, Zachary Fisher, who happens to be the uncle of Ken Fisher, who is the president of Fisher House, Ken Fisher wrote the foreword to the Sailing of the Intrepid because he's also sitting as, I think, the chairman of the Intrepid Foundation and flying to Chicago to help break ground on their 100th Fisher House. So this is
Wow.
is one of the only 4-star charities in America that's been 4-star charity for over 16 years. These guys have literally given out almost $500 million worth of free services to our veterans, not only a place for their families to stay, but they've also provided plane tickets, they provide scholarships. It's one of the proudest organizations I've ever been involved with because this is where the rubber meets the road. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of us don't understand. You spoke about, being a part of Desert Storm. A lot of people out here in this country don't recognize that some of your fellow service members who served with you today, 15 years later, are still suffering not only the physical scars, but the unseen scars of their service. And, Fisher House is there to help make sure that when they're trying to recover from an injury or recover from, let's say, an amputation, stump repair, or things like that, from 20 years ago. This gentleman, Mr. Reeves, who was our last recipient, whose show will start airing on August 22nd, shot 3 times.
Wow.
But his biggest problem right now is that he still bears the unseen scars of his PTSD from his time in service. We had another gentleman, the Costo family, that we did in Arizona. This is a family that, again, when we talk about what we do with Military Makeover and the community comes out, I got to give it up to Vail, Arizona. I mean, they showed up in droves. We had more volunteers helping that house, helping to fix this house, and helping to repair their outside than we had for several other places that we've been around the country. So the good thing about, the fact that Fisher House is there for families that need it, and lots of families do need it because you got to remember, when our young soldiers and sailors and airmen and Coast Guardsmen and Marines have to go to the hospital, they don't have a lot of money for their family to come and spend time in the local Holiday Inn even. Stay of 2-3 weeks. These guys go to the hospital, have major surgeries that take a month, 2 months to recover from. And it's better to recover with a family member there than to try to recover alone. And that's where Fisher House bridges the gap. And so, you can go up on fisherhouse.org and donate because they can use the donations and help out. But recognize that there are services out there right now that when we're not talking about it, they are providing help to our veterans.
Montel, it has been an honor speaking with you today. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all the continued work of wearing the uniform and just taking care of our veterans and our military service members. You have been doing so much work both on and off camera, and from one veteran to another. I want to say thank you. I applaud you and I salute you.
Thank you so much, sir. And for all your listeners who have veteran family members, this is an incredible read. I've been hearing from people all over the country. When you read this, it reads more like a cinematic novel rather than a history book. But the history that's been put in this book has been researched and researched and researched. And there are tales and things that you'll hear in this book and see in this book that you won't see anywhere else.
Thank you all. We'll be right back.
Thank you. Be well.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Look at that. It's so sad.
Welcome back to Focal Point. As we continue this week's theme of spotlighting veterans, my next guest also knows what it's like to make the ultimate sacrifice, Trey-Shawn Perez. He served in the U.S. military during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Trey-Shawn was one of many who was forced to conceal his identity in order to avoid being discharged. Today, Trey-Shawn is 100% living in his truth and is using his platform in some incredible ways. Trey-Shawn, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Elijah, for having me.
So let's start out the gate of telling me a little bit about your military service, and then we'll get into your transition.
I served in the United States Army from 2004 to 2009 as an ammunition specialist. First duty station was Fort Knox, Kentucky. Also served in Germany. And I also served in Iraq for 15 months. So I'm also a combat veteran as well. And I did my 4 years and then decided to go back to civilian service. I was really just set up for life after serving. So it really helped me. Still to this day, I stay a lot around of community of veterans. So once I served, I continue to serve. It hasn't even just left for me.
I am very open and vocal about my journey of being a mental health advocate. I'm also very open and vulnerable about my dealing with PTSD. And so I'm so glad to hear that you have a community of veterans that you work with, that you support. And I want to talk a little bit about the mental health aspect. How did serving in the military in silence, because I too served during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, how did that impact your life, your mental health?
Wow. It definitely was very, very difficult. I dealt with like a lot of harassment. Just felt like I just couldn't get up as far as wanting to having a longer career in the military. I was always dealing with just a lot of just backlash or just not really support of chain of command to help me in my journey. So I just felt as though that I kind of was just by myself, to be honest, when it came to needing to needing that extra help of wanting to further my career. Because even at the ending, there was just a lot that had went on that really derailed me from actually re-enlisting back into the military. So I pretty much was just like, I'm done with the military because I am who I am and I'm not going to change who I am. And, I just decided to get out.
And what I love is that it sounds like you took advantage of the skills and knowledge that you gained in the military, which I know for myself have been invaluable. I've used these skills throughout my professional and personal life. And so I want to ask you a bit about your service work, your volunteer work. You are an ambassador, and can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, so I'm an investor for Team Red, White, and Blue, and we're a health and wellness organization specifically for veterans, helping them to integrate back into community through health and wellness activities. We also do social events as well, and we're pretty much across all states and some even international as well. We are also teamed up with University of Health and Performance as well. And that's how I ended up starting my coaching career as well. So there is advancements within the community as well to help veterans with their skill sets to, help the community as we have learned within the military of, the importance of health and wellness and how it really helped us in our career as we were active duty.
Yes, health and wellness is so critically important. And that to me contributes to our mental health and our holistic care and holistic well-being, if you will. And one of the other things that I appreciate about your story is that you've been sober for 8 years. Would you like to share with our viewers your story?
I decided to go on a journey after dealing with a lot of, really heavy addiction, really, just going in a really deep depressive state, really hard time dealing with my PTSD and things like that. I was just honestly just having a hard time of just understanding the world over here. It still sticks with me a lot of the things that I went through when I was in the service. And then as well, being in Iraq as well, to me, it was just a totally different world for me, to just try to integrate myself, into just regular life. And, I went down a deep hole of just using, drugs and alcohol to just basically numb the pain. And, that went on for quite a bit of time, probably like not even right after I probably got out of the service. So it went on a pretty much long journey of just, numbing and using and not being aware of the fact that, I was actually harming myself for so long until I basically had a pretty big scare, where was hallucinating and things like that. And then it actually impacted me until I had actually had to been hospitalized and had to go to rehab. Even after that, it still took some time for me to actually reach out for help and realize that I had a real problem. So I ended up actually going to rehab for about 48 days in Pennsylvania at the VA Medical Center there, and it changed my life. I don't think twice about drinking, especially now with using physical fitness as a foundation for my life. It really has helped me to think more clearly, have more courage to just go out here in this world and to see myself in a light and not so much a darkness, and to be just present with a lot of people because life can be lifing, but it is also, a very happiness and joyous freedom to actually just be alive. So I'm grateful for my journey in sobriety, and I continue to be a mentor to others, help other trans masculine people also in recovery as well, and just anybody who's just needing help.
I absolutely love that. And I applaud your journey of sobriety and congratulations because, I myself dealt with drinking when I came out of the military too. And I think it's something that we don't give enough attention to as service members transition from being a military service member to a veteran to becoming a civilian. And so, we live in times today. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all the things that are happening around the world right now. And I want to mention this because some of the services that you mentioned are being threatened to be canceled for our veterans, the mental health care, the other care that we get as trans individuals. And so how are you navigating this current space that we live in the United States?
So for me, I definitely do have a community. I do have a trans community that I am very connected with. So it has been impactful to me to make sure that I stay very connected with my people. And then as far as like the Veterans Affairs and just the VA help, I just try to get as much help as I can. And just, I guess you could say I'm kind of like just stocking up and just constantly just making sure that I constantly just continue to use these resources. Because even though there is that fear of it may not be there, I still want to be present to know that I am a veteran and I'm a trans veteran and I'm here. So if they know that, then it's just like it's showing face that I'm not going to back down just because you're thinking that you're going to take away my service. And I think that that's very important, to keep showing up, and showing my presence that I'm here and fighting. Trauma comes in all types of form, but if I continue to educate myself, my mind will continue to be the strongest thing for myself, even if anything happens.
Absolutely. And, it sounds like community is really important, has been really important on your journey. And I want to ask this from one veteran to another, from one trans brother to another trans brother. How has your family journey been? How are you with your family, your siblings, your parents? How has that journey been for you?
It was rocky at first, because I didn't initially tell my parents. I just knew, actually from an ex-girlfriend. She had told me that somebody's story was very similar to me. So I started doing some research on what trans meant because I didn't really know, because I pretty much had been in the closet, with a lot of things, even in the military, even how I grew up. I come from a very religious background, so it was kind of like we don't talk about these type of things, or it was kind of like shunned upon. So when I did come about to understand that I was trans, and I did came out, there was a little bit of backlash, and actually today is actually my 5-year anniversary when I changed my name, because I actually changed my name during the pandemic. So that was really definitely life-changing for me, because I felt like I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I was doing that for myself, and I understood myself very well. My mom has came around. My parents are very respectful, have been very respectful as using my pronouns, as using my proper names. And even when they mess up and, sometimes still call me as that a kid, they still understand that they're not, and I can understand from a point that they are just basically just reminiscing when I was a kid and not dishonoring who I am now.
Absolutely. When we share our stories, we actually, give other people permission to live and really hope to live. So congratulations on that. As we close, I want to ask you if there is a message of hope that you have or inspiration that you have and you want to give to, if there's a young trans, non-binary, intersex, two-spirited person watching, or a cisgender person watching, a veteran maybe, what words of inspiration would you have?
It's actually one of my quotes I look at every day, and it says, "I am enough for what I'm called to build." So whoever you are, just believe in yourself. I know it may be hard at times, but continue to look at yourself in the mirror and understand that you are a beautiful individual. You're a handsome individual. Your creator has made you here for a purpose, and understand that you are worth it to be here.
Trey-Shawn, this has been wonderful. I have enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for sharing your time with our viewers and spending time with me.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Elijah.
We'll be right back.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing to keep us focused.
What do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and help your mental health?
Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body. It's about taking care of your mind and your mental health.
Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
To our viewers, thank you for tuning in to Focal Point. We'll be back next week with another powerful guest you won't want to miss.
The proceeding was sponsored by Dr. Elijah Nicholas, LLC.